no. Come on, where is it?
Dave, it's your Idaho Central app here. Any chance you're missing a debit card? Let's get that taken care of for you. With ICCU's card control, you can turn any card off with the tap of your finger.
You've got it.
And back on again. Out, 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 out. The closest Idaho Central Credit Union branch is in your pocket.
Pow day.
Dude, let's go.
This is Bronco Nation News Live. The best interviews, the most informed opinions, the latest breaking news, all from the top Boise State insiders. Bronco Nation News Live from BroncoNationNews.com is presented by RowPaint.com, the official paint and coatings company of Boise State Athletics. All Bronco Nation news broadcasts come from the Western Collective Studios. Head down to Western Collective's locations in Garden City or downtown Boise to try some of their delicious beers, including the Horseshoe Golden Ale, the first beer to support an NIL collective. Now, here's four-time NSMA Idaho Sports Writer of the Year, BJ Rains, with another edition of Bronco Nation News Live.
Hey, how we doing? Happy Thursday to you. Bronco Nation News Live here at BroncoNationNews.com. This is a Jackson's Thursday. Shout out Jackson's. Get that 99-cent coffee anytime, day or night, using that Let's Go Rewards app from our friends at Jackson's. We got John Mallory, 95.3 The Ticket, host of Prater in the Ballgame, with us for his weekly Thursday segment. We got some Ashton Genty to get to. Boise State softball playing tonight. We're going to hear from Jeramiah Dickey as well, and the big spring game on Saturday. So a lot going on. Johnny, how we doing?
Yeah, I'm excited for the spring game. I mean, if you can be excited for the spring game, right? But it is some football, and it's kind of the last part of football we get until July. So a lot of questions I want to have answered, hopefully, by the spring game, or get a better idea going into fall camp on some stuff with this team. So always a pleasure having me on. I can't remember the last time I've been in the Row Paint studio for this segment. Feels like we've either been at practice, I was on vacation. It's been like a month, but yeah. I'm excited to hop on, man.
Well, a week from right now, Johnny, I'll be eating my cheese curds or drinking whatever beer you have in Wisconsin, or whatever the famous things to do are up there. Maybe I'll go visit. Everyone wants to talk about historic Lambeau Field, but it's the National. What did I just look up here? Did you know, Johnny, the National Railroad Museum is in Green Bay, Wisconsin.
I did not know that. I'm a historian of the railroad and the Union Pacific and the Transcontinental. I love those documentaries. It's fascinating how people built the railroad to go. Like it went from like 4 months, 5 months travel east-west in this country in the early 19th century to like 6 days on the railroad. And I bet that museum is fascinating, just how they were able to build all that stuff with the little technology they had. That's fascinating, man. I would check that out, man. The Railroad Museum, it's probably pretty cool.
If I can make it there, I'll get you a souvenir, Johnny. You don't need anything from Buffalo Field. I'll get you something from the Railroad Museum for the.
Yeah, I don't think we need anything else on these walls. We're getting it too cluttered, probably. But yeah, maybe something for the studio, BJ.
But,
That's sweet you're going to the draft, though, man.
Yes.
Wow.
1 week from today, the first round of the NFL draft. Ashton Genty. I know you guys have been all over it on KTIK, but still trending. It seems like, Johnny, towards becoming the highest Boise State player ever picked. He would have to go 11 or higher. Obviously, Ryan Clady went number 12 to the Broncos back in the day. So 11 or higher, he makes history. And it certainly seems like, Johnny, whether it's the Raiders, I mean, they have to seem to be the favorite at this point, whether it's the Bears at 10, I believe. It seems like I can't see him at this point falling lower than 10. But we're 1 week away finally from finding out where Ashton Genty is going.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I mean, I see mocks that still have Genty going like to Denver there or around that neighborhood. I'm thinking, no way. I don't see Genty going past 6. And I think if the Raiders, man, they're going to really have to love somebody to take him ahead of Genty. It feels like that is the perfect fit unless, I mean, what if Jacksonville, can't stop thinking about Ashton Genty too? Think what he would do with them down there. They're not solely committed at running back there. They can't have the rookie receiver who had the best season any rookie had last year. Trevor Lawrence, what do you want to help him with? Get Ashton Genty. Where was Ashton Genty born? Jacksonville. I'm not saying that Jacksonville wouldn't just fall in love with him. I'm not saying that, there's a Chicago or a Dallas that is saying we need him. So that means we need the 5th pick. So are we willing to trade, say, for example, Chicago at 10? Are they willing to flip 10-5 with Jacksonville and throw in a second? I doubt they'd throw in another first. I don't think you're giving up 2 firsts essentially for a running back, but I don't know what the deal would be. Are they willing to do that? Because if they aren't, BJ, I think he's a Vegas Raider, and I am fully on board with that. I want that to happen. I think it's terrific for Idaho Sports Talk and Bronco Nation News.
Yes.
If this happens, BJ, this is huge for us. We don't want him going to Jacksonville. You kidding me? Hell no. It's the furthest NFL city from us. No. Stay here, Vegas. Yeah.
Be great. We could get him hooked up with the guys at Circa. And
you'd be there every weekend, BJ.
I told you I saw Chip Kelly there, right? I forgot Chip Kelly was the OC of the Raiders now, and he's just chilling at the bar there in the lobby at Circa.
Who told you that?
I saw him there. Then I
texted me, and you said, "Dude, Chip Kelly's at the bar." I'm like, "Yeah, he's the OC of the Raiders."
Oh,
like,
yeah. Yep. But which, by the way, I forgot he knows Eric Chenander pretty well. Chenander was with him, so I should have went up and talked to him, but he was there having a good time. But all right, so plenty of NFL draft stuff, and yeah, BNN is headed to the draft. I know I'm going to come on your guys' show next Thursday, today actually as well. We're switching up the next couple of Thursdays, and then you guys will have your KTIK night tomorrow. We talked about it with Coach Justin Schultz. You guys will be broadcasting tomorrow from the softball game. Big series starts tonight with San Diego State, so I know you guys threw out the first pitch of the Washington game. I'm hoping, I don't know if it'll happen or not, but I'm hoping you get another chance tomorrow.
I don't need another chance. I threw it out just fine last year. It doesn't have to. Why is everybody fascinated with Johnny Ballgame and first pitches at baseball games? We need to kill this story, man. We'll see, but we're excited to do that show out there. Let's hope Mother Nature. We need Mother Nature to be a Justin Schultz fan tomorrow, BJ.
Yeah. Looks like it's going to be 60 and sunny, at least in Meridian tomorrow. So you should get that pretty good weather. We are going to have Jeramiah Dickey join us in about 5 minutes. So if you have a question for the Boise State Athletic Director, you can put that in there as well. But Johnny, kind of cool today. We should get the news on Spencer Aarons. He signed, I believe, source told me late last night, early this morning. They're going to announce that today. The 4-star kid signing from Canada has a chance to come in and play right away. But with some of these new rules and new transfer things, Dylan Andrews, the UCLA player. I mean, they sent out a media advisory or a media text yesterday. I don't think I'm out of line for saying this, Johnny, but Dylan Andrews is on his visit and his meeting. We'll meet with the media today at 11:20. So we'll get a signed player, Dylan Andrews, the UCLA transfer, who's just on a visit, not here moved in or anything yet, just on his official visit but is signed. So compliance signed off, I guess, and kind of cool. We're going to get to talk to an early in-person interview here with Dylan Andrews after the show today.
A 2-year starter at UCLA. Hopefully he's a nice fit here. He's a 1 year. I was wrong, and I've said this. I stand corrected here on BNN. I thought he was coming with 2 years. No, he's played 3 at UCLA, but yeah, I'm excited to see him play, and it seems like this could be a pretty good move. This team, this coaching staff usually has a pretty good track record of finding guys that are going to play the way they want them to play, and there's going to be a lot of minutes, I think, for Dylan Andrews to get that scoring average up a little bit, and playing a system that's proven that it works in a league that maybe isn't the grind like the Big Ten is for UCLA and the travel and whatnot. So maybe if throw a few of those things in his crock pot, BJ, and I think you can get a pretty darn good year out of him next year. And hopefully, ultimately, this team can go where it wants to go at the end of the season.
So some basketball interviews, news coming later today. Signing day officially started yesterday, but I know Spencer Aarons is doing a Team Canada thing. So he signed last night. That should be announced today. And like I said, Dylan Andrews will meet in person on his visit here coming up at little after 11 o'clock, I believe, down at Boise State. So kind of cool they're doing that. Johnny, we got our 5 spring storylines going at Bronco Nation News. Today is number 2, and we're looking at the defensive starters. A couple guys transferring out, a lot of, players we knew were leaving that graduated, the Alexander Tubners of the world. But this defense, it's going to have, I want to say a new look, but I mean, we know a lot of the guys, we know who they are, but in terms of, who was here last year, they're certainly gone. So going to be a different looking defense on Saturday in the spring game. That's our number 2 storyline, things for fans to kind of watch and pay attention to. Who's out there for the defense and where in Saturday's spring game.
Yeah, I mean, who's playing? I mean, sometimes you don't get an accurate, most spring games, you don't get an accurate representation of what the depth chart's going to be, as you know. Wasn't it, I think it was Mac Griffin who led the Boise State receiving corps in spring game totals a couple of years ago.
Tyler Crow's led the team in rushing the last 3 spring games or something, yeah.
Tyler Crow has the most spring game rushing yards in Boise State history. Look that up. I'm kidding, but I wish they had those stats, man.
Career spring game stats.
I would love to see who's the all-time spring game leading rusher. Career. But yeah, you don't get an accurate look. But yeah, defensively, I want to see what they have up front. I mean, it's going to start up there, and there's pieces that need to come in. Edge, I think they're going to be out. JVM, I don't know how much they're going to let him get after it. Hopefully a little bit. Linebackers, some new pieces. Yeah, but I think they're stable there. I don't know how much we're going to see, if any, of Marco in the spring game. I don't know. I don't have a confirmation on that. I mean, do you expect Marco to just do what he would normally do in the spring game? I don't see why he wouldn't.
Yeah, I would assume he'd be out there. We haven't heard anything about him. I mean, I would assume that, yeah.
See Marco flying around, and then the secondary, it's a lot of familiar people. They're all familiar, BJ. There's not anybody new in the secondary. They've just shifted around a little bit with Banks going to nickel. The corners are exactly the same. Zion Washington played all the time last year. He was an every down player, essentially. And then obviously Ty Benefield, who I think is probably the best defensive player I've seen this spring. He's back there too. His field.
I want to see him at receiver. Let's see him at receiver. That's a storyline.
Okay. Over under snaps Ty Benefield takes on offense in the spring game. The line is 0.5.
I'll take over on that.
He'll get 1 play. He'll play offense.
2.5. I was going to say 2.5.
I don't know if they're going to put it. Yeah. Okay. I'd probably take the over there too. Okay. He sold me on. He'll get him for a play. It's the spring game. It's fun. But yeah, that's
not too much now to not put him out there. They've got to put him out there at some point. They ran him out there for interviews this week. Multiple coaches have been asked about him. I think he's got to be out there at some point.
I'd agree with you. You're right. Okay, Benefield will play a little bit of wide receiver.
The D-line, though, Johnny, I think the D-line is going to be very interesting now with Feely gone. As you said, they're probably going to have to bring some more guys in, but I think a big storyline for fans Saturday in the spring game will be that defensive line and what that looks like.
Yeah, I mean, I have questions just like they do, right? Where's it going to look up front? I mean, your leading returner, defensive tackle, nose guard, or 3 technique played in 8 games last year. Wasn't an every down or even rotational player. It's a fresh unit. So I don't know what you're going to be able to get from the spring game. If they're kicking ass, you're like, oh, okay, these guys are going to be just fine. If they're getting smoked, you're going to be like, oh, okay, well, luckily they're going to go in the portal and they're going to address this and they're going to bring some guys in immediately that have played, and they're going to coach them up as quick as they can and get them to play good Boise State level football. But as far as the spring game goes, yeah, I want to see who's going in and out, like who's getting the reps. Well, who's going to do most with the reps? There's a lot of reps to be had, and there's a lot of guys that they're trying to see maybe what they can do in a different type of element, meaning the closest thing to a game we can give you until South Florida.
Let's take 30 quick seconds, Johnny, 30 seconds to thank our sponsors, and we'll be joined by Boise State Athletic Director Jeramiah Dickey in 30 seconds.
Bronco Nation News is presented by our title sponsor, RovePaint.com. Our major sponsors, Idaho Central Credit Union, Taco Bell, Lithia Ford, The Blue and Orange Store, Jackson's, and our contributing sponsors, Signature Roofing, Western Collective, Snake River Pool and Spa, Transportation Compliance Service, Boucher Real Estate, Ridley's Family Markets, Circa Las Vegas, Lean Feast, and Timberstone Golf Course.
All right, Johnny, as promised, we welcome in for our monthly visit here. I know you guys have him on your show as well, but Jeramiah, Johnny just loves talking to you so much. He begged me to be on the show today, but the athletic director at Boise State, Jeramiah Dickey, how you doing, sir?
Good morning, guys. You didn't tell me Johnny was going to be on.
He didn't tell me either,
DJ.
I surprised Johnny as well during the pre-show meeting that said you were coming on today. But we appreciate you for jumping on. I figured I wasn't good enough to ask the questions myself. We'd let Johnny and come in and ask the hard-hitting ones. But we get a chance every month to catch up with you. We're appreciative of that. We're 1 week from the NFL draft. We're a couple days from the spring game here. A lot going on. It was kind of cool being at practice the other day, seeing the crane actually bringing pieces of steel in and now pieces of steel and a structure actually starting to take place. I mean, that's got to be super exciting after all this planning and stuff to now start to see the first stages of an actual building going up over there.
For sure. It makes it real. They're moving so quickly. I've started to get questions on, is it going to be finished this year? No, there's still a lot of work to be done, but how awesome is it to see steel being moved? And it definitely makes it real. And I think those that are coming to Stickle Sky Center and obviously to practice and for our student athletes and staff, it's a good reminder. We're making progress, but we're not finished. It's always what's next.
Now, our friend Jordan here says if JD could put together a time capsule to put under the north end zone that somebody would open in 50 years, what would you put in it?
Wow. That's a good question, and not surprising coming from Jordan. I don't know, guys. What, maybe.
Johnny, what do you think?
I mean, something to do with Kellen, something to do with Ashton, a jersey, a shoe, a cleat, a helmet. 50 years. That's a great question, though, Jordan. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, maybe obviously a newspaper, right? Aren't you supposed to put, kind of the
you'll open that in 50 years, you'll know what the heck that is. Yeah. Unfortunately.
Yeah, maybe one of our new contracts for Bronco Pro, so we can reminisce about hell. I don't know. Like what?
That's a good one. Keep the questions coming for Jeramiah Dickey, Boise State Athletic Director here. You mentioned Bronco Pro, so I'll jump to that. BSU Pro wants to know, once Bronco Pro goes live, will the contributions be tax deductible still and go towards BAA status? Essentially, can we now make NIL contributions and get full benefits for it? What's the plan there?
The plan is to continue, obviously, to drive through Bronco Pro revenues, and it's a very long story, and I'll try to shorten it, and we'll have more information on this. Obviously, we're still waiting on the House, but revenue share, I'm able to take our revenues and share them appropriately based on the numbers that we've identified. And so how we get that revenue, there's still going to be benefits and obviously tax deductions and whatever else as revenues are coming into the department. And then to protect us from an IRS standpoint, making sure we protect our donors. There are certain revenues that I can control that such as our Learfield, agreement, our concession sales. We have a lot of revenue streams, our special events. And so it's taking money from one space and moving into another and some, essentially creative accounting. So more information will come, but it will be of value to our donors and Bronco Nation.
We've had some of these basketball players that have announced they're coming back for next year. RJ Keene, I know for one, Pearson Carmichael, that have, when they were making the announcement on our show, they're shouting out Bronco Pro and Cody and like that. I mean, and when you guys signed, Drew Fielder, it said at the beginning of your release that you agreed to terms, with Drew Fielder. I mean, just kind of the changing era of this now. What's been the early stages of this? I know, like you said, it's a big project. It's an end game, long, down the road here in terms of what you guys have planned for it. But now that you're actually starting to sign some of these guys to these contracts, and this thing is kind of starting to officially take shape here, what's it been like so far?
Yeah, it's been chaotic, but in a positive way. Movement creates opportunity. I've been very vocal about that. And, you're absolutely right, BJ. Like what we're currently doing today, it could look very different a year from now. There's still a lot ahead of us, but we knew we had to be prepared for this new age of college athletics. And I feel the work that Cody and Allie and our collective team have done in the space, the coaches who've embraced it, the student athletes who are committing and going through this process with us, the outside counsels and the number of attorneys. It's been a lot of work, but we're not a finished product. And there's still things ahead of us as the House settlement is secure and this going into effect July 1st, and there's still some partnerships with the collective and ultimately what we're doing. But so far so good. We continue to take the mentality that it's what's next. Like we're not going to cry about what's happening. I made a joke earlier. Like honestly, we approach things very differently. I can't approach this job as a fan, unfortunately. And, this is business and we are making decisions in what's in the best interests of this department and our student athletes and trying to protect all involved. And obviously a lot of moving pieces. The portal is people talk about tampering, and is it really tampering? Like, there really are no rules and we're hopeful for more guardrails. And I do believe those are coming, but I'm really I'm in a good headspace. It doesn't feel good when people leave, and so that's a hard pill to swallow. At the same time, everyone has to do what's best for themselves. And when you compare us to others in our industry, I was reading yesterday, you guys probably know the school, but someone just lost like 30 kids to the portal. In the whole grand scheme of things, we're doing a really good job, and culture is always going to be king here. That is going to be a driving force for all of our sport programs. And I think we've been really fortunate. We don't swing with the pendulum of the emotional, roller coaster that everyone's on of this kid's leaving, this kid's coming. We can't afford to do that. It's always what's next. And we're putting our best foot forward and so far so good. And doesn't mean more changes won't come. It doesn't mean we won't add more student athletes, but having 24/7 free agency is a challenge. And that's something our industry needs to figure out, dealing with the number of agents that we deal with and having no guardrails around what that looks like the NFL does or the NBA. That's a challenge. That's something we need to consider and start looking at. I do believe there are solutions, and we're good at identifying the problems, but I do believe there are solutions. And I have somewhat of a seat at that table, but I'm starting to get more vocal. And a lot of the time, this morning at 7 a.m., I was talking to an AD on the East Coast and just trying to wrap my head around, just curiously questioning some of the things that I'm just struggling understanding. Why are we so reluctant as an industry to collective bargain? And if you do collective bargain, as I educate myself, do you have to be an employee? Because I know employment is up for discussion. And can you do a non-employment collective bargaining agreement? And is there a way to balance this out and market correct or course correct? Because what we're doing right now is not sustainable. And you saw it with Tennessee last week, and good for them. They drew a line in the sand, and I think the more that happens, the more that athletic directors, commissioners, maybe presidents, NCAA, all involved, and there are a lot of cooks in the kitchen. We're going to have to start looking in the mirror and say, all right, what can we own? What can we change and course correct? And what do we actually need the federal government's help in? And I believe there's more work to do on our end.
There's
the biggest,
yeah. Oh, go ahead, Johnny.
The biggest thing for me, and I've talked to a lot of people on this too, JD, and I want your thoughts on this. And it just seems like, okay, and this is the system. Fine, we'll deal with it. You know, Boise State brings a kid in. It's a great relationship. Both parties get exactly what they want. The kid leaves for financial reasons or whatever. The kid gets what he wants, and his new school gets what he wants. But Boise State doesn't get crap. They get nothing out of the deal. There has to be, in my opinion, you say some guardrails, some type of compensation fee, a poaching fee, something. For example, look at Pullman, Washington. 2 years ago, they got rid of Cam Ward, left them. Miami should have had to compensate Wazoo for Miami. This year, Oklahoma takes John Mateer, their next quarterback. They should be able to get compensation for him too. So then all of a sudden, if they got, say, $3 million from Miami for Cam Ward, $3 million from Oklahoma from John Mateer, all of a sudden now Pullman, they got $6 million in their Bronco Pro. They can use that to keep guys, to bring guys. And it just feels to me like they're, in that regard, your level gets nothing out of developing the kids other than a really nice hug and best wishes and thanks for being here type of thing.
Correct.
Thoughts on that?
No, you're absolutely right, Johnny. And that's a great point. That's something we're preparing for, and it will be interesting as we move forward, what that looks like. I have a buyout in my contract, Spencer has a buyout in his, Leon in his, that's industry standard. I think that's when you start getting into, are they employees or not? And that's been one of the national questions around this space. But the reality is, the student athletes are having their cake and eating it too. And, and I probably have to be careful with what I say and how I say it. But right now, this pendulum swung so hard back to the other side that you're seeing student athletes, get paid and good for them. Like, this is an open market now, get paid maybe more than they would if they went to the NFL or NBA or Major League Baseball, whatever sport they're in. That's something that we have to consider. And, like any negotiation and which is where I'm leaning more towards collective bargaining. You want it to be a win-win. It's like any discussion with one of our vendors or someone that we're partners with. It's important. You want it to be a win-win, and it shouldn't be one-sided. And in many ways, I think our industry, or at least those that were defending the student athletes, were saying, well, the coaches are getting paid whatever and ADs are getting paid whatever, and all this money's coming in. We lost the narrative and the story, and this thing swung hard to where, the numbers aren't making sense, and this model isn't sustainable. It's not sustainable. And so the things you're talking about, we don't have to look any further than the NFL or NBA or Major League Baseball. There are a number of templates and models that we could follow. And you have to seriously question, why aren't we? And I have some opinions on that, but I won't share them today. But in many ways and in general, there may be a competitive advantage, for some conferences and some in our industry, for there not to be guardrails and for money to be shared at a much higher level. You're hearing across the industry now, it's not a matter of, meeting the 21 million in the House settlement and what teams are going to be able to share, but potentially how they go above and beyond that and tie it into NIL and so there's still a lot of information coming out in Deloitte and how we're going to actually determine fair market value. And we are really good at creating problems for ourselves. And that's something that we've done for many decades. And there isn't one person to blame or one conference or one, and NCAA takes probably way too much, fault in this. They're an association represented by, they represent every institution and conference and ultimately conferences and institutions are responsible for determining direction and NCAA is responsible for upholding that direction. And so there's a lot of blame to go around, but I'm a problem solver. It's like, fine, however we got to this place, it doesn't matter now. How do we create a path moving forward that makes sense, that legally can be justified, that protects us, because the lawsuits keep coming and the chaos is still present and continues to get worse in many ways. And there's nothing that, like the idea that we're 24/7, that it's recruiting and that you're constantly in this free agency period. Tell me what league does that? Like it just, and I understand we're an outlier to a certain extent because of the academic component, which is still very important to us. And we have to figure out how we, maybe fit a square peg in a round hole. And so, people have thrown out like, are there going to be trades? And, do you cut someone during the middle of the year? No, like those are things that I feel like with the right people in the room can be negotiated, and we can get to a place that at minimum, we're not living insanity. And I've told you guys before, I can live with failure. I can live with a lot of things. Insanity, I cannot, because that's doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. And what we're experiencing now, it's only getting worse. And so I'm hopeful and I have faith in our industry's leaders. And I'm hopeful that with the House settlement and the guardrails that are coming and Deloitte and fair market value, and we're going to start chipping away at this and create something that can withstand time and maybe create a more positive path forward.
Yeah, I'm with you on the multi-year contract thing, which it sounds like could be coming. Because what profession do they just sign 1 year? I mean, they all sign long-term deals, whatever. It's not free agency every year. I mean, there's a dude, AJ Storr, that was at Kansas. Now I think it's going to Ole Miss, counting high school. This will be his ninth straight year with a different school. I mean, every year, literally for 4 straight years in college, he just finds the best deal and leaves. I mean, it is.
And BJ, I would say something else, and you guys didn't ask this, but and I think it ties into Spencer's value over currency. Our job is to prepare these student athletes for life. That's why I'm in college athletics. That is my why. And yes, we're held accountable to winning championships and doing it a lot, right? Like I get that. That's the fans' perspective. But for us, our why is to prepare these student athletes for life. And what are we teaching them? There are certain values in your level of commitment and loyalty and what is legacy. You've heard Ashton talk about it. And those are things that I hold myself accountable to. There's a reason that I'm still at Boise State, and it's not because of currency. It's because of the appreciation that I have of this place and Bronco Nation and this community and the value that I have and the opportunity I have to serve and impact student athletes and my team. I mean, that's to me, like, that's important to me. And so, as a leader and a servant leader, I feel in many ways because of how it's set up, we're failing these student athletes. And, and that's something that we're doubling down on. Culture is king, and that is always going to be a driver for us. And we got to find the people that want to be Broncos. And you've heard me say it before, you got to really want to be a Bronco. We don't have what everyone else has, but we're going to go out and get it. And we're going to find a way forward, and we're going to continue to hold ourselves to a high standard of winning championships. We're getting a lot of questions in the chat, but also a lot of comments on things they want in the time capsule. And Jordan did say a JD signed coffee cup needs to be. Hey, there we go. All right, that's a good one, Jordan. A lot of the North End Zone
bingo card, a JD bingo card of all the JD-isms would be nice.
There we go.
Robbie says, I love driving by at night, seeing the Bronco logo on the board with the blue lights on the crane. Chills every time. Tyree said the North End Zone starting to take shape. Got me fired up. They're wanting to know if there's going to be a spot, any real estate in the North End Zone to paint a number 2 and a number 11 jersey up there. Joking around about retired numbers. There's going to be more information coming out. So long story short, and like most things that I end up telling you guys, I'm probably not even supposed to say this, so my Coots and my team will get upset at me. But we had created a committee, and this was in the fall. We have so many great Broncos. You guys always debate like who's the Mount Rushmore and whatever, and what an awesome problem to have. Like we have so many great Broncos, coaches, staff, student athletes that becomes a debate. So we created a committee and really define the expectations, plan the work the plan, Johnny, for that bingo card. What does it take to get a statue? What does it take to get a number retired? What does it take to, get a number on the field and to really honor, some of these past Broncos that we stand on the foundation they define and establish. So that is in the works, has been in the works, and there's a lot of other conversations taking place on what that looks like. I'm not one to just, we need a statue and let's do it. Like, let's plan the work the plan.
and we have a lot of Broncos across 18 sports, and we need to appropriately honor them, and our team is working on that, and so more information will come at some point.
You mean a quarterback that went 13-12 with no conference championships, getting his number retired at the spring game 3 months later isn't something on your list there?
Yeah, I won't comment on that, but I do appreciate the comment.
Two other quick topics, because I know we don't have a ton of time left with you, but the North End Zone project, we saw the video I know that Nate put out in terms of you guys already had a lot of the steel purchase and stuff, which helped with that. But in terms of just, you mentioned everyone's hurrying, wanting it done, sooner, but just in terms of price and timeline and everything, it seems like everything's on schedule. And I guess it's a two-part question with the East Side being next. I know no one's ever satisfied. We're already thinking about the next project before this one's even done. But what are your initial goals? Do you already have the basic idea, rendering plans even privately for the East Side, or is that still an open thing in terms of that? And is there any chance? Probably not, but I've said in a perfect world, you would just do what Oregon State did, tear down the whole East Side and rebuild it entirely. That's probably not possible, but how do you kind of weigh a small project just to kind of patch some holes with big, massive project like something like that?
Yeah, no, BJ, I think you're right on. And I'm never going to say never, that's something Cody and our team and Nate and I've talked about, is there an opportunity to just start from scratch? On that side. That side was not built for the number of people it needs to serve. And we know that, and I hear Bronco Nation, and that's a continued conversation. But I have pivoted. My team unfortunately can't, because they're still working on the North End Zone facility, rightfully so. But I'm on to what's next, and that's extra mile and that east side of the stadium. And we have some, I'm big on vision boards, and that really gets me locked in terms of what my expectations are, and the feedback that I get from my team and our constituents in general, of the things that would be of value to us. And I think opportunities are endless. You think about these entertainment districts that you're seeing at with NFL and professional sports, and bottom line, we're professionalizing, and so is that a possibility? What other revenue streams can we develop, tied to the Bronco shop, or bringing the field closer and more seats, or creating more premium space, or a field level club, new entrances, new concessions, and obviously much more space on the concourse. I do believe we can build something that will be sustainable and pay for itself. And I think the next step for us is similar to what I did. I've been telling our team, and I haven't been as public about this for me, but this is chapter 2. I'm never a finished product, and I'm continuing to learn and grow. And, the first 4 years, I think for anyone in a new role is challenging, but, I'm in a much more comfortable place and a more confident place in terms of who I am as a leader and how I'm serving and what we need to do overall, especially with the industry changing. And so this is chapter 2, and that may mean a new playbook for success and what that looks like. And you said it, BJ, we're never finished. As long as I'm here, we're not stopping. And that may make some people uncomfortable, but I think it's great timing in terms of this chapter 2 and what's ahead of us. And as we're going through a presidential search and identify whoever he or she is in terms of our next leader. And I'm so excited. There's so many opportunities, and I'm really looking forward, to this 25 season. And I mean, we have so much ahead of us, and it excites me.
Well, I don't have to worry about price tags or money or going to get fundraising, so I can just dream big. When I look at it, it's easier. But I mean, we saw what Oregon State did. They just had to play a full season without a whole side of their stadium, which sucked. Yeah. But in the end, it was worth it for 1 year to have that. I mean, I would personally, if you could pull it off, think that would make more sense. My alma mater, Kansas, they're basically building a brand new stadium in the same place where their old stadium was, just kind of one corner, one side at a time. They're going to play this year with 2 new sides and 1 old side. And then after the season, tear that side down and real quick build that. So I don't know what logistically or money-wise, I'm sure that'd be a much bigger project. I'm sure on your 5 to 10 year big plan, you'd love to do something in the South End Zone too, probably build a whole new varsity center and build that area up with suites and things, and have it like what we've seen at Utah and some of these other places, maybe there too. So I'm sure you'd love to do a lot of stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, and those are the possibilities. I think that the East Side, because I kind of consider, even though we're in the South, like, I think we could do something really cool that would tie into not just, the fan experience, but, you have to remember, like, we have an unbelievable partnership with ISMI. We're one of the few, athletic departments that actually we have our doctors and our, they're on site. And so that's a huge competitive advantage for us thinking about them, and they're amazing partners to us. And so the academic space and do we create offices and maybe we eliminate this South Side, and that creates more grass space, or that creates more, opportunity for us to activate outside the stadium. I mean, the opportunities are endless, and that's what's so cool and exciting to me. I'm a dreamer, and and unfortunately for my team, then they sometimes have to figure out how we make it reality.
Yeah.
And but ultimately you throw everything at the wall, see what sticks, and we'll figure it out.
Final thing for you. We're getting a ton of comments on this. And you said earlier, speaking out of turn and getting in trouble. Hopefully you'll do that again here. The Pac-12, it's been kind of quiet on that lately. A lot of people are curious in terms of it sounds like they're getting closer to a media rights deal. And I don't know in terms of expansion where that is as well. But as much as you can say, what can you give us the annual monthly update on the Pac-12?
Yeah, a lot of balls in the air. Every day we're that much closer. We're still following our strategy and plan. And so understanding from a fan's perspective, there's maybe a little more drama to it. I'm in it every day, and having conversations and we're making progress. I'm really grateful for the Pac-12 leadership and specifically Teresa, and she's doing a great job, and all the people, all the ADs and the relationships that we've developed. It's like a startup. And so we are approaching it that way. And it allows us to, I think I've said on this show before, when you go to a new conference, it's so much harder changing something that exists versus creating something new. And so going from where we're at to say the Pac-12, there's the brand and there's the history and those things have value. But we're really approaching it in a way of, our industry is changing. Why do we have to operate the same way as everyone else? And are there opportunities for us to, maybe run out the ground balls on that would be a competitive advantage in the future? And so I'm really grateful for Teresa and the collective team and the conversations we're having. And so what I can assure everyone is we are making progress. There is strategy to how that story is told, and more information is going to come sooner than later. In terms of some of these steps, but there are a lot of steps still ahead of us. And that excites me. We got to be rocking and rolling and be able to hit the ground running July 1st of 26. And so, we have somewhat of a timeline. Obviously we'll, in terms of adding another program and the media rights, a lot of that stuff will be done, sooner than later, but there's still a lot of work to be done overall. And we're going to be ready when we go into this conference.
Johnny, he's literally got his background blurred because the list of Pac-12 expansion candidates is on that whiteboard right there behind.
Beautiful.
My office is not. I have so many windows, so everything ends up stacking. So I blur it because I'm embarrassed. BJ, okay?
I like it. I like it.
Do we know anything about when the TV schedule might come out for Mountain West football? Are you guys thinking any of those games might switch to Friday or anything? Or
I need to call John. John is awesome for the Mountain West, by the way. If you guys have gotten to meet him and
John
talk to him, yeah, he's great. I need to check in with him. Usually, I want to say last year it came out like early May. Does that sound right?
Yeah.
So I think we're probably around the same timeline. But I do need
the
to
South
reach
Florida
out.
game. We heard that was moved to Thursday. I assume that's for TV. I mean, is it fair to assume that's going to be a prominent TV option for that? Or
Yeah, I think so. I haven't checked in with them in a while, but they're on similar timelines. I'm assuming that's going to be released, probably right around the same time the Mountain West will release theirs, and not something I'm overly concerned about at this point, but it is something that I think would probably be early May.
cool. Well, we appreciate your time, Jeremiah. Thank you for jumping on as always, and we'll see you at the spring game on Saturday. And a lot going on here moving forward, and exciting time for Bronco Athletics. And we appreciate you once a month coming on here and doing this.
Thank you, guys. I sincerely appreciate it, and look forward to seeing you this weekend. Go Broncos!
By the way, Skyship said, can we get a tunnel for the north end zone going all the way to Tin Roof Tacos? Long walking tunnel, # shrimp tacos. There you go.
Yeah, we'll add that to the list, guys.
Thanks, Jeremiah. Appreciate it.
Bye, guys.
There he is, Jeremiah Dickey, joining us here on Bronco Nation News. Johnny, great stuff there. Bronco Pro, the North End Zone Project, scheduling, Pac-12. I mean, it's probably not too many days where Jeremiah Dickey gets to the office and goes, what's on the agenda today?
Yeah, you caught JD on a talkative mood or very topical today with things going on. And I was wondering like how he thinks, like, because, he runs with other ADs. Like if you're the AD of a school that's like known to go poach other schools' players. I
Yeah.
wonder if the ADs kind of walk into rooms with blood on their hands at all, or if they're just like, hey, that's what everybody's doing. I'm staying out of it. I just wonder, like, if JD's like, oh yeah, by the way, your program just took, like, if he runs into BYU's AD or USC's AD, kind of like, it would be interesting to see how ADs talk about that behind closed doors.
Yeah, no doubt. Johnny, appreciate you for jumping on. I know I'll be on today with you guys talking spring game and basketball and stuff. What else we got? Idaho Sports Talk today.
Yeah, BJ Rains, a special Thursday appearance, getting ready for the spring game. I think that's what we're doing. We're talking spring game with you today.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, we'll be talking there'll be some basketball news today as well, so we can hit on that if you want to. But obviously, I'm sure you guys will have audio from Dylan Andrews on your show as well today.
Yep, we're going to get after it today, and I'm sure I don't know if Prater's going to cry or not. It might be tears of joy, but like the Lee Corso news, we have a lot of cool conversations about that. And
have you touched on his list of 12 headlines that he posted at BNN? Have you guys touched on that yet?
Yeah, I love that list. I was late reading that column. I just read that column yesterday. I think it came out 2 days ago or whatever the case was.
Yesterday.
But yeah, that was a good one. A list column from Mike Prater. I enjoyed it. But yeah, we'll be doing that. And obviously the daily Ashton Genty news. It's crazy covering that kid. You're doing the same thing. Just where is he today? What shows is he on? What product is he endorsing? Oh, what commercial is released? Very busy life, but looking forward to having you on today, BJ. 4 p.m. Mountain Time, BJ Rains on Idaho Sports Talk. Appreciate it.
I'm going to keep this thing going, Johnny, but I appreciate you for jumping on. We're going to take a 30-second timeout, and we're back with Bronco Nation News Live here at Bronco Nation News, BroncoNationNews.com. Back in 30 seconds.
Bronco Nation News is presented by our title sponsor, RovePaint.com. Our major sponsors, Idaho Central Credit Union, Taco Bell, Lithia Ford, the Blue and Orange Store, Jackson's, and our contributing sponsors, Signature Roofing, Western Collective, Snake River Pool and Spa, Transportation Compliance Service, Boucher Real Estate, Ridley's Family Markets, Circa Las Vegas, Lean Feast, and Timberstone Golf Course.
Great stuff there from Jeramiah Dickey. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section there. We didn't get a chance to ask him about the Notre Dame game. We had a lot of topics. You guys had some great questions, but unfortunately couldn't get to all of them today. But yeah, I mean, that's in a perfect world. You're asking me. I'm not the one having to pay for it. I'm not the one having to foot the bill. And actually, it was kind of encouraging that he thought that was still a possibility. He didn't really. Maybe he's just saying that to be nice and not eliminating anything at this point. But the fact that he didn't blow it off as a non-idea. I mean, I think that's what needs to happen. Would it be ideal? No. To play a full season, probably with no east side of the stadium? No. But Oregon State did it for 1 year. They got through it, and guess what? They have an awesome east side of the stadium now. I mean, you talk about revenue generation. You could have a whole nother, Stickle Sky Center on that side if you wanted, or a whole nother row of luxury suites between the upper level and the lower level. I don't know if you get enough out of it by just updating the concourses with the bathrooms and with all that stuff. And if you're going to do all that work, I guess theoretically you could do it during an off season if you're just doing smaller stuff like updating the restrooms and the bathrooms and adding a few suites. But if you really wanted to do it right, I think you would just knock down the entire east side of the stadium. And if it means a year with no east side and you put up some bleachers maybe or something, or you have no seats over there, it is what it is. You do it for 1 year. This is the long game here. Is it ideal to have no seats in the north end zone this year? No. But is it going to pay off when you have that thing opening and rocking for 2026 when you join the Pac-12? Yeah, it's going to be great. So in a perfect world, like I said, I don't know how much it would cost. I'm not paying for it. I wouldn't have to do it. So it's easy for me to say. I know it's not that easy, but from the outside looking in, it would seem to think the best option, the one that would make the most sense long-term, is just tear down the entire east side of the stadium, build an entirely brand new east side with new seats, new suites, and, have it kind of mesh in with that north end zone and just continue that transformation of the stadium. You need a new stadium, frankly, just being completely honest, right? You need a new stadium. You can't do that. You can't just tear down the stadium. I mentioned Kansas. I know I always bring them up. I mean, they're my alma mater, but they literally played 1 year at a soccer stadium, which you can't do obviously here. But they are doing kind of the same thing. This year, they've got 2 new sides of a stadium done or will be done in time for the season. They're going to play this season with the old side on one side of the stadium. And then after the season ends, they'll tear down that side and then, add the new side there. So I don't know if you can pull it off. Obviously, it'd be a very tough project to do, and it would mean playing a season likely without stands, a 30% of your revenue, 30% of your seating or whatever on that side of the stadium. But if you could pull it off long term, you basically just need to go one side at a time, because I think the south end zone's next. Anyone that's been in the varsity center, they need more offices. They need better offices. And if you could redo the varsity center down there behind the scoreboard, or figure out a way to do that and build, a 3-level building, kind of like the north end zone that has some suites, that has some seating, but also is new locker rooms for some of these teams and new, offices for the athletic department and these teams. I think that would be ideal too in the south end zone at some point. So I don't know. We'll see. But I would like to see them, instead of putting lipstick on a pig, so to speak, on the east side of the stadium, I just say you take your lumps, you play a year without the east side. If you can pull it off, tear down the entire east side, redo it. I think that makes the most sense personally. Whether or not they can pull it off, I don't know. He did say sooner rather than later on the news on the Pac-12. It sounds like they're getting closer to a TV media rights deal. If you read from John Canzano, they've got to add another team, obviously. I've made it very well known. I would love to get the Memphis UNLV tandem. Don't know how possible that is. Would love to see UNLV, obviously, for, a lot of reasons, personal included. Love Vegas, love Circa. Love going down there. And if we can keep them in the conference, that would certainly help, long term. But I think UNLV just makes a lot of sense beyond that. They're in a city that's now thriving with sports, and it's a great destination city for road games and conference tournaments and things like that. I just think it makes a lot of sense there in Las Vegas to have them in the league. And I think Memphis, nothing against the Texas States, North Texases of the world, I'm sure they could get the funding and they'd eventually be fine. But if you want to make a little more of a splash right now, football, basketball in a city that, like I said, is a destination city, so to speak, I think Memphis makes a lot of sense as well. But they got to add somebody. So we'll find out here in the near future who they end up adding and what that TV deal looks like. I'm hoping they can get back on ESPN in some capacity. I think that has really hurt the Mountain West. Fox has done a pretty nice job airing the conference championship game, bringing out their big noon kickoff last year for the championship game. And they got a lot of exposure from that. But for the most part, I think you become kind of a non-factor on ESPN when your league's not on ESPN. And so in terms of getting talked about on College Game Day and some of their other shows, I think it would help if the Pac-12 could have some sort of deal with ESPN. They don't need to be the primary person, but I think you need to have ESPN somehow involved with the Pac-12, if at all possible, moving forward here to help the branding and the messaging and the marketing for that league. But do they go streaming? Do they go Amazon? What do they do? There's going to be some very interesting decisions they're going to have to make here in the near future when it comes to the TV deal for the Pac-12, and very curious about it. And in the next couple of weeks, we should be getting the updated TV schedule. I've seen some releases for season tickets and things where it's listing every game on Saturday. Take that with a grain of salt, folks. It happens every year. Every game is not on Saturday this year. They come out in May, next couple of weeks here, and they'll announce that 2 or 3 or 4 games are moving to Friday or Thursday or whenever. So there will be, I'd be shocked if a single game didn't get moved. Some game, whether it's a UNLV home game moving to a Friday or whether it's something, I would just be surprised if they don't have at least 1 or 2 games moved to a different day of the week when that comes out. So when you're making your plans and things, I would tread lightly with planning events and trips and things, because some of these dates could change and probably still will change. Sky saying JD is the best. JD fires me up. Great AD. Yeah, agreed. And we appreciate him and Chris and everybody over there at Boise State for him once a month agreeing to come on for 30 minutes and talk to us and answer your questions and things like that. So great stuff from Jeremiah. Appreciate him for jumping on. Appreciate all you guys for checking us out. We got to get down to Boise State. Dylan Andrews is going to hold a press conference signing with Boise State, and that'll be official. and get to talk to the UCLA point guard transfer who is on his visit right now to Boise State, and kind of cool with this new era of college athletics. Once he is signed, even though he's not even enrolled and he is on a visit on Boise State's campus, I think he'll be the first, what I can probably guess, recruit ever to do an interview on campus here at Boise State. Before he's actually a student here, he's on a visit as a recruit, even though he is signed. But once he signs, that makes him eligible, I guess, to do media, and they're going to go forward with that and let him talk today. So looking forward to talking to Dylan Andrews. We'll get that up on the YouTube channel, and looking forward to chatting with him. Spencer Aarons, the 4-star kid from Canada, is supposed to be official today as well. They're going to announce that, I believe, around noon or later this morning. So some basketball news coming. And then football is practicing today, but it is closed to the media. No football availability today. And we'll talk to Spencer Danielson after the spring game on Saturday. If you missed the Riley and Ridge show last night, great stuff with John Bates. They went over an hour talking NFL stories, memories, college, Boise State stories, memories. If you're looking to kind of reminisce a little bit, John Bates, now a tight end for the Washington Commanders. And yes, I apologize. I put Washington Redskins in the initial headline and changed it after I had about 5 people chastise me for it. So old habits never die. But the Washington Commanders, John Bates, tight end, Bronco Nation News. You can go check that on our YouTube channel last night on Riley and Rid. Great stuff with John last night on Riley and Rid. So appreciate you guys. Go subscribe if you can. Tell your friends. Bronco Nation News. We'd love to have you join us on the social media channels here. And at a minimum, just hit subscribe and like and help us keep these shows free of charge. But 12 topics, Mike Prater's column. You can read that at bronconationnews.com. The 12 biggest headlines in Boise State sports history. You can imagine one of the Fiesta Bowls, the Blue Turf. What else is on there? And Ashton Jeanty trying to make history and add his name to that list, becoming the highest Boise State player ever drafted by Boise State, if he can, or out of Boise State, if he can go 11th or higher next Thursday. So Bronco Nation News will be in Green Bay. We are heading to the draft, one of the few, maybe the only media outlet heading to Green Bay next week from Boise. We'll have full coverage starting all day Wednesday. We're going to interview Ashton Jeanty on Wednesday. We're going to have all kinds of media availability with some of the NFL Network draft analysts, some of the other draft prospects. We're going to get a tour of Lambeau Field and of the draft stage and setup and the red carpet show on Thursday. Bronco Nation News will have full coverage of Ashton Jeanty at the NFL draft next week. So make sure you are tuned in and subscribed to Bronco Nation News to get that. I think one of the Ashton Jeanty interviews we may make subscriber only, especially if we're the only Boise outlet up there interviewing him. So jump in now. $50 gets you a full year at bronconationnews.com. If you use that promo code BNN50 deal, you can do the $6.99 monthly option as well. But Nathan Carroll has his storylines, including today's look at the defense heading into Saturday's spring game. I mentioned Mike Prater's column, the top 12 headlines in the history of Boise State sports. You get a daily email, all kinds of other great stuff if you're a subscriber as well. So thanks to Jackson's. This is a Jackson's Thursday. Go get your 99-cent coffee at Jackson's anytime, day or night, using your Let's Go Rewards app. And don't forget they have the $5 meal deal going on at Jackson's as well. I kind of shortchanged some of the other sponsors today, just didn't have time. So appreciate all you guys. We give you as much love as we can, but please support the sponsors, folks. Rowpaint.com, of course, Taco Bell, ICCU, Jackson's, Snake River Pool and Spa, the Blue and Orange Store, Lithia Ford of Boise, Bauscher Real Estate, Ridley's Family Markets, Transportation Compliance Service, Lean Feast, and Signature Roofing, Timberstone Golf Course as well. I hope I got them all, but please support the sponsors, folks. Obviously, our title sponsor, Andy Rowe, rowpaint.com, all your painting needs. Hit up Andy Rowe and rowpaint.com. But have a great rest of your Thursday. We're going to go get those basketball interviews. Looks like a nice day outside today, so get out there and try to enjoy it for a walk or a run or trip to the driving range if you can. But it's a work day here at BNN, so we'll get you coverage of the press conference with Dylan Andrews. Spencer Aarons also scheduled to join us if we can work out a time to tape that. But a lot of basketball, football news. Jay Tuss will join me tomorrow. We'll really dive into that spring game preview and get you set for Saturday's spring game. And again, thanks to Jeramiah Dickey for joining us. If you missed Riley and Rid with John Bates, you can go watch that. You can go subscribe at bronconationnews.com and go get your coffee, 99 cents at Jackson's using that Let's Go Rewards app. This has been a Jackson's Thursday presented by our title sponsor, rowpaint.com. We're in the Western Collective Studios. Have a great Thursday. Check our website. Check our YouTube channel. Plenty of content to come all over social media. We're heading down to Boise State now. We'll get that stuff posted this afternoon. Have a great rest of your day. We'll see you at 9 a.m. with Jay Tuss tomorrow. Bronco Nation News live here at bronconationnews.com.
It's game day. Are you ready?
Let's go!
Bronco Nation News is presented by our title sponsor, RowPaint.com. Our major sponsors, Idaho Central Credit Union, Taco Bell, Lithia Ford, the Blue and Orange Store, Jackson's, and our contributing sponsors, Signature Roofing, Western Collective, Snake River Pool and Spa, Transportation Compliance Service, Boucher Real Estate, Ridley's Family Markets, Circa Las Vegas, Lean Feast, and Timberstone Golf Course.